Hi, it's Graham here. Today I'm with Richard Gardner from Always Property, and today we're going to be talking about some of the finer points of property management and why it could be useful for you to engage one. So Richard, tell me why you got involved in property management.
Okay, so when I first started investing in property, we used the services of property managers, mainly because I didn't know what I was doing. But I soon found out that an average property manager, they wasn't that good, to be honest. They let us down badly. There was issues around communication, not telling us if the property was cold. And so I rang up and said, look, why is the tenant leaving? And they said, well, the property's cold. And I said, why don't you let me know, And it's just simple things. But so we did something about it. We got the place insulated and got on with it and got it rented. So there was rent arrears, unexpected or unclear what the bills were on the statements, and I was finding I was going back and asking them what's this about, and so anyway we took over the management ourselves and learnt the hard way, learnt by trial and error, but I found out I was pretty good at it and I had a passion for it. And then family and friends were asking me to manage their properties, and that was the catalyst to when we formed Always Property Management.
Fantastic. So what are some of the crucial mistakes, Richard, that you find that private landlords make in managing their own properties?
Well, first off, I think that they don't increase rents to market rent. They quite often, I find, this is from my experience, I find a landlord's a bit scared to put up the rent, the tenant might go, but they, I'm not talking if it's $10 or so below market value, I'm talking quite often they're significantly lower and they're not getting the return on the investment, whereas whether they increase at least every 12 months, $10 or $15, they'll keep it at market rent. So that's one. The other two are really, I find, and I get complaints quite often from tenants, the property wasn't clean when I moved into the property, and that's a biggie. It's simple, but it's a big one. It's really important to have it clean so you're showing the tenant what you expect, and otherwise they get upset about it, which is understandable. The other one is doing repairs and maintenance. That's going to stop the tenant's enjoyment of the property. In other words, the day-to-day enjoyment. They don't get those repairs done, and tenants get frustrated about that. Yeah.
So what do you see as some of the key advantages of hiring a property manager? One, we do it day in, day out, so we do get good at it. So that's what we do. Quite often landlords have time restraints. Quite often it's they haven't got the energy or the passion or the expertise to do it. So I think that's really important, that it's no good doing it if you not good at it or don't want to do it. It's going to show. You're not going to get the results. Obviously we do regular inspections, which is really important, so we get repairs and maintenance done on time. We've got liable system and counting processing, and at the end of the month owners get their statements, so it's all done for the accountant. Making sure the property is compliant with legislation, government legislation is really important, so we keep up to date with that. And sometimes you're going to get conflict with tenants, and you've got to deal with that, and some people don't like dealing with that. So give it over themselves with someone that knows what they're doing. With a good property management company, you get better results, I believe. Very good. So obviously for a landlord, having good tenants is really important. How do you find good tenants?
Generally, I find a good property, a good, clean, tidy property attracts good, clean, tidy tenants, basically. But obviously, first starts off with tenant selection, selecting those right tenants that have had landlord history, that have proven track record,
And once you've selected that tenant on that merit, then it's a matter of working with those tenants, like leading by example, like I'm saying about before, the place being clean and tidy when they move into the property. And that's about expectation as well. So there's expectancy of the property, it's nice and clean for them when they move in, and that's expectation when they leave. And the other one is sometimes educating tenants along the way. Particularly young people might not know how to clean something, and you have to sometimes explain to them how to clean something. So you do all those things, you get good results, basically.
So obviously a problem for some landlords can be rent arrears.
Yeah.
How do you deal with rent arrears?
We check rents daily, of course, so it's the first thing, so we know if someone's missed their rent. Sometimes it's just a hiccup with the bank or something's gone wrong, and the tenant just gets that sorted the next day. That's no biggie. But if there is problems, you want to get onto it really quickly. That's the most important thing, is get onto it quickly, let the tenants know that their rent hasn't been received this week, follow up with 14-day letters if necessary, and then go through that procedure. But generally along that way, you'll find that most tenants get it sorted. But if they don't, you have to go down the Tenancy Tribunal Act. But as again, selecting good tenants, you don't normally have that problem.
Obviously, property is, a really important asset for the landlord. Mm-hmm. How important are property inspections, Richard?
Oh, really? They're a must, really. Quite often, I find that a lot of people don't do them as routine as they should. But the biggest thing is you can stop issues with a new tenant moving in. If there's problems, you can stop them straight away. So like putting pins in, on walls, putting up posters, you can get onto it straight away, so there's less damage caused to your property. It's great actually for building rapport with tenants, besides what some people say, and some tenants in particular, like, I've never had someone come in and do routine inspections, and they're a little bit anxious of that at first. But the fact is, once you know that you're treating them as a customer and you're looking after them, they're fine with that. And quite often they might have some issues or some concerns, and when you do the inspection you can talk about it. The other thing is sometimes they don't actually like to tell you that there's a repair, and it could be as simple as a door latch not working or whatever it is. And I say, look, you could have told me that, I would have been fine to get that fixed, and they don't want to bother you. So you get in there and you fix that for them, they're happy. Sometimes you're stopping maintenance issues from getting worse as well. So there are a lot of reasons for it. The other one is some insurance companies stipulate how often you should be doing inspections. Some say every 3 months, so it's important. If you're on your insurance policy, they're stipulating that you are actually doing that. It's really important. Yeah.
Very good. So obviously, property landlords get into these properties for a form of investment.
Yes.
What can they do if they have an underperforming property?
Okay. Well, it could be something simple, it could be a lot more, I mean, if there's nothing that can be done, it might be the best thing is to sell the property, but in most cases, quite often it could be as simple as a reno. And I work on the assumption that if you're going to spend X amount of dollars, say you're going to spend 20k on a reno, and I'd work that out as an interest rate of 10%. So that's going to cost you 2k a year, but if you can increase rents at least by say $50, that's $2,500 a year or more, it's a no-brainer. And of course the other thing is you increase your capital value. So there's an example with an owner that was really having trouble. Their property was not performing for them. And I took over the management and I said to them, look, I think we should do a reno. The place was just run down, and we did that, and we looked at the scenario, what would the rents be, what would we spend, and it was a plus for the owner, and they never looked back after that. The property was rentable, they were getting good rent for it, and it turned into from a distressed property to a performing rental. Yeah.
Oh, it's really good. So what are some of the key components, in your opinion, Richard, that make a really successful property manager?
I think communication is really important, like I said before there, and that's both verbally and documenting things that are important. You know, if the tenant's saying they're going to do something rent-wise or whatever, you document it. That's really important. Leadership, do what you say. Like I was saying about making sure if you expect a tenant when they move out to clean the property up to a good standard, well then you've got to lead by example. Obviously integrity and honesty is really important. Now, real estate agents talk about locations, but I reckon in property management it's about follow up. So important, you know, that you're always in that follow-up mode until it's completed, whatever that situation is. Good systems and processes, of course, really important in property management. And being firm with tenants, but being fair. So sometimes tenants go through stuff just like we do, and it's really important that sometimes you might have to show a bit of compassion, in some circumstances.
So Richard, obviously there's a lot of property management companies out there. Why should people choose you at Always Property?
Well, that's a really good question, because there are different management companies and there are some really good ones. But I think the biggest thing with us is we're investors ourselves. We've been investing longer than we've been property management now for 10 years, but we've been investor longer, so we know what property investing is all about. You're working with us, the owners, which I think is a biggie, and that's what I had frustrations about with some other property management companies I've dealt with in the past. We're a boutique company, so we've not got a big rent roll, and some of those companies, I mean, they might be doing a good job, but it's hard to give really good service when you've got a big rent roll. Okay, so we do take the stress and worry out so landlords don't have to. And we get a lot of feedback about that. They just don't have to worry. And when you employ a property manager, you should be able to leave it and let them take care of it.
That's fantastic. Now, Richard, tell me what geographical areas you take care of.
So the wider Manawatu, Palmerston North, of course, Fielding, Ashurst, and we do some. We've managed some over the track in Pahiatua as well.
Fantastic. So if someone wants to have an obligation free chat with you today, how do they get hold of you?
They can call me, 027 249 8295. My website's www.alwaysproperty.co.nz. Someone wants to have a chat with me, that's really great. Let's see if we're a good fit. If we're a good fit, let's sit down with a coffee and we'll go over what you need.
Oh, that was really interesting. I certainly learned a lot today about property management and investing. I really hope you did too. And if you're interested in finding out more, feel free to give Richard a call. He's a really good guy and we'll be more than happy to hear from you.